Hello, happy Thursday. Welcome to Exercise with Exos. Coach Jazzi here, and I have a fun workout planned for us. So, like I did yesterday, it's the second day of Dia de los Muertos. Technically, there's 4 days, but today's the second day. Today's a big one. So, we are spelling out Ofrenda, which means altar. So, that's like what you set up for your family members to honor them. You leave your food, the whatever drinks they like so that they can come back. You have the marigolds that lead them here so they can come back and visit us tonight. So we're selling Ofrenda, and we're gonna do 45 seconds of work, 15 seconds of rest / transition time, 3 times through. So I'm gonna get started real quick because we got a little bit more workout today than usual. So for the O, we're gonna do a down dog overhead press. So that's in our pike or down dog position, bringing our head down and pushing up. So that's the O. For our F, we're going to do some forward lunges, or basically walking lunges. So we're going to step forward and then push off our foot into the next leg. So depending on how much space you have, you can either do your forward lunge in place or you can do it moving, again, whatever you have space for. And then for the R, we're going to do a reverse lunge. So stepping back, alternating here into just a static reverse lunge. Nothing extra there. And then for the E, we're going to do an eccentric push-up. So starting on our hands and toes, hands underneath our shoulders. We're lowering ourselves 3 seconds down and get back up however you need to. Or you can fully push yourself up if that's where you're at today. So that's going to be the E. And then for our N, I couldn't, again, think of anything else that started with an N except for like narrow squats. So our N is going to be for the knee. So we're going to do a squat knee to opposite elbow again. So hands at our temples, squatting down, exhaling across our body, and then to the other side across our body. So it's going to be the N. For the D, we're going to do some dead bugs. So we're going to lie on our back, knees in the air, hands in the air, extending out. Exhale, using your core to come back in. It's been a while since you did a core exercise like that. Bringing it back today. And then last but not least, for the A, we're going to do a bent over A. So feet hip width apart, slight bend in our knees and in our hips, squeezing our armpits, coming all the way back. So we're here, arms are out kind of like an airplane and back. So that's our Ofrenda workout for today. So we're going to go ahead and get our warm-up started. We're ahead of schedule, so it's a good sign. So let's go ahead and start with the world's greatest stretch. We're going to go ahead and interlace our fingers, grab onto one of our knees, and pull our knee towards our chest. And we're going to go ahead and exhale, step back, reverse lunge, hands coming down on the inside of our front foot. Back leg stays nice and straight. Nice big inhale. And exhaling, opening up towards our front leg. Looking past our hand, thumb is facing behind us. And let's go ahead and exhale, plant outside of our front foot. Bring our back foot a little bit closer and push our hips up into our hamstring stretch. And we're going to go ahead and exhale. Bring our feet together, push the ground away, and stand on up. All right, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. So grabbing onto our other knee, pulling towards our chest. And exhaling, step back, reverse lunge. Hands coming down on the inside of our front foot. Back leg stays nice and straight. Nice big inhale. And exhale, opening up towards the ceiling, gazing past our hand, getting our rotation here through our neck and spine. And exhale, plant outside of our front foot. Bring our back foot a little bit closer and push our hips up into our hamstring stretch. And let's go ahead and exhale. Bring our feet together, push ground away, and stand on up. Wonderful. All right, we're ready for a little bit of plank to pike here. So let's go ahead and make our way onto our hands and toes. And let's go ahead and exhale, push our hips up towards the ceiling. Let's go ahead, press one heel into the ground, do a quick pedal, hold for about 2 seconds and switch. And then let's go ahead and poke our head in between our arms, stretch out our shoulders, And then go ahead, come back to our plank. We're gonna do 2 quick ones here coming up and down, and 1 more coming up. We can go ahead and make our way back to our plank. Then go ahead and bring your knees down to the ground because we were starting with our down dog overhead press, aka plank spike. So we are ready to rock and roll. 45-15. We have 3 rounds here, spelling out Ofrenda. So starting off with our down dog overhead press. Timer is starting in 3, 2, 1, and go. So down dog overhead press is first. Oh my goodness. So our hips are up towards the ceiling, bringing our head as close to the ground as we can, pushing back up. Inhale down, exhale up. Make sure our elbows are staying in. So we don't want our elbows all the way out. We want them to go towards our feet as we come down. So it's going to help us make sure we're not putting too much pressure on our shoulder joints. Great job. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. All right, for our F, we have forward lunges. So you can either do these in place or you can do it walking forward. So we're moving forward, whatever feels good. 3, 2, 1. It's also going to depend on how much space you have. So if you don't have that much space, go ahead, you can do it in place or walk as many times as we can in whatever space we do have. I think I really only have enough for 3, but making sure as we step out, we push through our heel big toe, little toe of our front foot, back leg comes up a little bit. So we want to make sure we're not pushing off of our back leg. Our back leg is really just there for support. Pushing through, walking forward. Great job. 3, 2, 1. All right. Next up, we have reverse lunges. So similar, but different. So we're stepping back instead. It's going to put more emphasis on our glutes here. 3, 2, 1. Sometimes our forward lunges is going to put a little bit more emphasis on our quads. The reverse lunge, I find we can really focus on our front foot. So it's a little bit different, similar, but different. If you want to spice it up a little bit, you can always add a knee drive, a pause, a jump, whatever feels good for you today. Or you can even step back, pause, stand back up. I like to add that pause at the bottom. Really helps us activate, get that isometric movement in there, activate a little bit more muscles, or I should say muscle fibers. 3, 2, 1. All right. On, or I should say back to the ground, we have eccentric push-ups. So we're going to be on our hands and knees or hands and toes. 3, 2, 1. So let's go ahead, screw our hands into the ground. If we're starting on our toes, we're in our top of our plank. We're coming down 1, 2, 3. Get back up however you need to, or you can do it from the knees here, coming down nice and slow and pushing ourselves back up. I highly encourage, if you are not able to get up from the ground as easily on a full push-up, these ones I still want to be on our hands and toes. It's going to help us really build up the strength in our chest by taking it nice and slow as we lower ourselves versus being from the knees. So that's what I want us to do, but whatever feels good. 3, 2, 1. All right. Next up, standing on up, we have squat, knee to opposite elbow. So hands are going to be at our temples. 3, 2, 1. So hands at our head. Inhale, come down. Exhale, come up, tapping the opposite side. I got some good responses to this one last time we did it. And like I said last time we did, it does help us work both ends of our core coming together and across, which is a great way to work on our pillar strength here. So making sure that as we squat, feet are hip width, a little bit wider if you need to. Our core is engaged, our back stays nice and flat, coming into the bottom of our squat. And then as we stand up and exhale, 3, 2, 1. All right. Next up, we have dead bugs. So we're getting on the ground on our backs. Lots of up and down today. That's always good for us. All right, 3, 2, 1. So knees directly above our hips, hands above our shoulders. Inhaling out. Exhale, pulling our leg back in. So for this one, we really want to exhale. Breathe through our straw. It's going to activate our core as we pull our knee back in. So if you are coming out and down and you're here and your leg is all the way out and straight and your back is off the ground, go ahead, shorten that range of motion, have your leg a little bit higher. Or if you're struggling with the core engagement aspect of it, breathe through your straw or rib cage comes down and together, bring those legs up and hold there. So if you're not quite able to activate, 3, 2, 1. Doing a hold is a great way to start to build that core strength. All right, last but not least, bent over A's. 3, 2, 1. So our feet are hip width, slight bend in our knees, our hips are back, hands in front. Squeeze our armpits together, raise our arms up and back down. So we want to make sure we squeeze right here. So if you act like I have a piece of paper between your body and your arm, don't let that paper fall, and then raise your arms. So we should feel this activate as well as our upper back. So we want to bring our shoulder blades down and back so our back is nice and flat. And coming up. This is a great movement to help us strengthen our back, to help with posture, similar to our bent over T's. Just a different position here. 3, 2, 1. All right, great job. That's one round down. We got 2 more to go, starting with our down dog overhead press, or otherwise known as plank to pike, but Ofrenda starts with an O, not a P. 3, 2, 1. All right, so starting with our hips towards the ceiling here, bringing our head as close to the ground as we can. Inhaling down, exhaling up. Making sure you're pushing the ground away. We want to, again, have our elbows coming back. Our arms are not all the way out to the side. If you do it like that, it doesn't feel very good. It's going to put extra pressure on our joints. We want to make sure we're using our muscles here. So keep those elbows in. 3, 2, 1. All right. Next up, forward lunges. Walking forward lunges. Like I said, this is going to work a little bit more on the quads than reverse lunges, but still feeling our glutes there as well. 3, 2, 1. Making sure with these ones, we're stepping out at a good distance for us. So I say this almost every time we do lunges. We want to make sure that we're not stepping out super far. This is not a stretch. We're not stretching out our legs here. The goal is to push off of our front foot using our whole foot to push off the ground. I'm going to walk towards the camera for this next one. Other key here, making sure that as we step forward, our feet are on train tracks. So if you notice I'm not walking like a tightrope, my feet are not in front of each other. They're underneath my hips, but moving forward. All right, that's time. I talked too much. We're done on time there. So moving on to our reverse lunges. So same concept, but stepping back. 3, 2, 1. We're stepping back. We're also not moving because that sounds really difficult. But same concept here on our train track, stepping back. Our chest stays over the arch of our front foot. And like I said last time, you can add a pause there if you would like to challenge yourself. or you can step back, lower yourself nice and slow, pause, float up. You can add the knee drive with the pause. Make it whatever suits you best today. If you're in a position to push a little harder, go ahead, push a little harder. If your body's tired, your brain's tired from the week, go ahead, do what feels good. 3, 2, 1. All right. Back to the ground, eccentric push-ups on our hands and toes. 3, 2, 1. So step 1, right, screwing our hands into the ground. That makes sure that our upper back is nice and flat. Our back should be engaged in this as well. Core, breathing through our straw, nice and slow. And then getting up however we need to. We want to make sure that as we are doing our push-ups, our hands are out in front at the top. And at the bottom, our hands are right at the bottom of our rib cage. That's going to make sure that we're really using our chest going in that motion versus here. Going here, we don't feel anything in our chest. We feel it all in our shoulder joint. 3, 2, 1. All right. Next up, we have squat knee to elbow, but it is the opposite elbow this time. 3, 2, 1. And by this time, I just mean today. We did the opposite side last round. Exhaling as we come up because that's going to help us breathe through our straw. Making sure we are pushing through our whole foot. Want to make sure we're using our glutes. Gonna also, again, feel a little bit in our quads there and in our core. Still being careful on my knee here because it's not feeling the best, but feeling way better than last Thursday. 3, 2, 1. All right. Next up, we have dead bugs. Getting on our back on the ground. Starting with your knees directly above our hips. 3, 2, 1. So as I was saying last time, if you want to hold in this position so you can work on your core engagement and control, definitely do that. Breathing through our straw, bringing both sides of our core together. That feels good. Go ahead, lower and exhale. We want to make sure we're not using our hips to come back in. So I know sometimes for me, if my core is hard, my hips start to kick in. So make sure you readjust. Exhale as you come up. 3, 2, 1. All right. Last part of round 2, bent over A's. Then we're going to go ahead and do one more round. 3, 2, 1. So squeezing. We want to make sure we're not rounded at our shoulders. We're pulling our shoulders back. So we're not necessarily pinching our shoulders, but we're pulling them back so our back is nice and flat. So if you need to kind of do a quick roll back here, squeeze our armpits coming up and back down. So squeezing our armpit, acting like we have a piece of paper in between our arm and our body. We're squeezing our orange right here. Having that might help us be in that nice posture position where our back is nice and flat. 3, 2, 1. All right. Last round coming on up. Starting with our down dog overhead presses. 3, 2, 1. All right. So hips towards the ceiling, coming down. I tried to make it as quickly through the warm-up as I could today and through our demos. So we should have enough time to do a quick cool down. and don't want to go overtime. I try and be as mindful as I can of y'all's time to make sure that we're not running late for anything if you have something after that you need to go to. I also want to make sure we have enough time to cool down our heart rates and be able to eat our food. 3, 2, 1. All right, we are done with those. We have forward lunges first and then reverse lunges. This is a lunge heavy workout today. 3, 2, 1. I'm trying not to do too many squats because that was what was bothering me the most last week. But also, I know if I just stand like this all day, I'm fine. As soon as my knee gets into my triple flexion position, it's like, what are we doing? So that's why I always say we need to listen to our bodies, make sure that if we're tired, right, making sure we're not pushing too hard on those days. But also the second part of that, right, is knowing the difference between pain, tightness, and soreness, right? If it's tight, it's going to feel like a little bit of a pull, right? But if it's pain, maybe it just will feel a little bit different. 3, 2, 1. So definitely pay attention to the cues your body's giving you, especially if you feel tired from lack of sleep. Definitely want to make sure we rest. We have reverse lunges next. 3, 2, 1. Speaking of sleep, in 2 days or so, I don't know where I had to count my fingers. In 2 days, it's daylight savings time. So our clocks are falling backwards from Saturday to Sunday. And I know it's a lot of time for fatigue to feel a little bit off, disoriented with the time change. So making sure we're setting ourselves up for an optimal night of sleep. If you're subscribed to the Exos at RS newsletter, you did see that information in there, hopefully. But if not, just making sure you're off screens for at least an hour before bed. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. We have push-ups next. So getting ready on the ground, we have our eccentric push-ups. So just focusing on going down. 3, 2, 1. But another thing that can help us with sleep is making sure that the temperature in our space is good. So between 68 and 70. And then making sure too that we are, avoiding alcohol and stuff like that before bed. It can affect our sleep, and sleep's really important for our brain and our body to recover day to day. And then just making sure, I always like to tell people if it's hard to get in bed at a certain time, just even if you need 8 hours of sleep, 7 to 8 hours, just get in bed 8 hours before you need to wake up, and hopefully that'll help your body just kind of set the tone, be relaxed to be able to fall asleep. 3, 2, 1. All right, next up, we have squat knee to opposite elbow, and then we're going to do our dead bugs and A's, and then we're going to cool down real quick. All right, 3, 2, 1. And then last note about that for recovery wise, sleep is integral part for our recovery, as I mentioned, but it's also really important to make sure that if we do feel any pain or injury, we do take time to rest, making sure we're promoting recovery. Unless something is swollen, do not ice it. Heat is going to be the best thing to help promote blood flow to that area. So if you have, like for me, for my knee, putting heat on it is helping a lot, making sure I'm walking, stretching, rolling, moving things around to help promote blood flow and healing to the area. So if we ice, it stops, it restricts blood flow. 3, 2, 1. So it's really only good if we are have the inflammation or the swelling there. So quick tip there. All right, we got dead bugs. I'm gonna get off my soapbox about sleep. 3, 2, 1. Bugs. My personal favorite core movement, and I feel like y'all probably know by now that core is my least favorite thing to train, but I do love doing dead bugs because it helps with core strength, which can help with posture and with squatting. Just really being able, like dead bugs have honestly taught me how to activate my core a little bit better and then to pull using my core versus my legs. So if you're finding that you're having some back pain or even hip pain, this can be a really great way to strengthen to help alleviate some of that pain. 3, 2, 1. All right, last movement of today's class. Bent over A's. We're gonna have our feet hip width apart, pushing our hips back. 3, 2, 1. So squeezing our armpits, coming on up. Helps if we exhale as we bring our arms up. And then after this, we're gonna just lay on the ground, do a quick figure 4. We're gonna do a couple breaths on each side and call it a day. Like I said, trying to get us out of here on time, as close as we can. Now, sometimes having 7 movements instead of 6 cuts us close on time, but I'm trying my best to give us a few more movements every week. 3, 2, 1. And that is going to be all the time for our circuit. So let's go ahead, grab a sip of water if you need it. And then we're going to go ahead, like I said, we're going to do some figure 4. So laying on the ground on our backs, both our feet flat on the ground. We're going to take one ankle over our opposite knee. And if that tension feels good, go ahead and stay there. You can even press on your knee. Or we're going to go ahead and interlace our fingers in the middle of our hamstring or in front of our shin and pull our knee towards our chest. So a couple deep breaths here real quick. Sighing away our tension. One more breath here. So one big inhale. And exhaling, bringing both our feet back to the ground. And we're going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. So ankle over the other knee. And if that tension feels good, go ahead and stay there. Or we can go ahead and interlace our fingers, grabbing in the middle of our hamstring or in front of our shin and pulling our knee towards our chest. Let's go ahead and do one more breath here. And as we finish our exhale, we can go ahead and gently bring both of our feet back to the ground. And feel free to stay laying on the ground on your back, or you can return to a seated, kneeling, or standing position. That is going to be it for us today. So I hope you enjoyed our Ofrenda workout. But I hope you all have a great weekend. Feliz Dia de los Muertos once again. And I will hopefully see y'all again next week for more classes.